I was sitting in my new apartment on a quiet Saturday evening, finally at peace, after a year of rebuilding my life, when the doorbell rang. I opened the door and froze. Melissa stood there looking nothing like the woman I married. Her face was hollow, her eyes sunken and red. A year ago, I discovered her affair with Brad from her office. Instead of confronting her, I chose silence. I packed my things, left a note, and disappeared completely. Now she had found me, and I had no idea why. Before I tell you how I completely vanished from my cheating wife's life and built something better, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story about silent strength and unexpected closure might change how you think about moving on. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Melissa and I had been married for 4 years when everything fell apart. We met in college, dated for 6 years before tying the knot. Our relationship felt solid, built on trust and shared dreams. I worked as a software engineer at a tech company downtown, and she was a marketing manager at a consulting firm. We had our routines: dinner together most nights, movie marathons on weekends, conversations about buying a bigger house someday, maybe starting a family. We lived in a small house in the suburbs, with a yard Melissa loved to tend. She planted roses every spring, and I would watch her from the kitchen window while making coffee on Sunday mornings. We had bought a car together, a blue sedan that she drove to work while I took the train. Life was not perfect, but it was ours. I trusted her completely, never questioned where she went or who she talked to. That trust felt like the foundation of everything we had built. Around 6 months before everything collapsed, things started changing. Melissa began working late more frequently. At first, it was once or twice a week. She told me about a major project with an important client, how the team was under pressure to deliver results. I understood completely. I even made sure dinner was ready when she came home late, leaving plates covered on the counter. But as weeks passed, the late nights became routine. She stopped eating the dinners I prepared, saying she grabbed something at the office. She grew distant in ways I could not ignore. Conversations became shorter, more superficial. When I asked about her day, she gave vague answers. The woman who used to share every detail about difficult coworkers or funny meetings now barely said 3 sentences. Her phone became her constant companion. At dinner, during movies, even in bed before sleep, she was always typing, always distracted. When I glanced over, she would tilt the screen away or lock it quickly. Then came the weekend business trips. Melissa had never traveled for work in our 4 years together. Suddenly, she had conferences every other weekend. She would pack her small suitcase Friday evening and return Sunday night exhausted and unwilling to talk about where she had been. I asked once about the conference topics, and she mumbled something about marketing strategies and new client acquisition. The details never added up, but I pushed my doubts aside. There were other changes too. Melissa started paying more attention to her appearance. She bought new clothes, expensive dresses I had never seen her wear to work. She changed her hairstyle, started going to the gym at odd hours, bought perfume that smelled different from anything she owned before. One morning I noticed she had set a password on her phone. In 4 years of marriage, her phone had always been open. Now it required a 6-digit code I did not know. The doubt crept in slowly, like water through cracks in a dam. I told myself I was being paranoid, that work stress explained everything. Melissa was ambitious, driven. Of course she was working harder, trying to advance her career. Of course she needed space. But deep down, something felt wrong. I started noticing smaller things. The way she smiled at her phone when she thought I was not looking. The hushed phone calls she took in the other room. Once I walked in while she was talking to someone, her voice soft and full of laughter I had not heard directed at me in months. She hung up quickly when she saw me. "Just a colleague," she said, smiling in a way that did not reach her eyes. I did not ask who. I did not push, but that moment stayed with me. I started mentally cataloging all the signs. The nights she said she was working late, but her office building looked dark when I drove past. The weekends she claimed to be at conferences but came back without any materials or business cards. The distance growing between us like she was already gone, even when she sat next to me on the couch. One Friday evening, Melissa told me she had another business trip. She would leave Saturday morning and return Monday afternoon. I nodded, helped her pack, kissed her goodbye like always. After she left for work that Friday, I sat at the kitchen table feeling hollow. I had never been the type to snoop, never felt the need. But something pushed me to check the laptop she kept at home. She had left it on the desk in our bedroom, forgotten in her rush. I opened it expecting a password screen. There was none. She had been careless or maybe too confident that I would never look. I did not plan to dig through her private files, but her email was open on the screen. And there at the top of her inbox was a message from Brad. Brad. She had mentioned him a few times as a coworker on her team. I clicked the email, my hands starting to shake. It was not work-related. Nothing about marketing strategies or client meetings. The message was short, personal, intimate. Cannot wait to see you this weekend. Last time was incredible. I wish we did not have to keep hiding. I scrolled through more emails. Weeks of messages between them. Months, actually. They talked about dinners at restaurants I had never heard of, nights at hotels I did not recognize, plans for trips disguised as work conferences. There were photographs attached to some emails. Pictures of them together smiling at a beach resort, holding hands, at a candle-lit table, looking at each other the way Melissa used to look at me. One email from 3 weeks ago made my stomach turn. Brad had written, "When are you going to tell him we cannot keep doing this forever?" Melissa replied, "I know. He is a good guy, but I am not in love anymore. I just need to find the right time to tell him. I do not want to hurt him more than necessary." I read that line 3 times. I am not in love anymore. I closed the laptop slowly, carefully, as if it might explode. I sat on the edge of our bed, the bed where we had slept together for 4 years, where we had talked about our future, where I had held her through nightmares and celebrated promotions and made love on lazy Sunday mornings. I sat there and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no tears, no urge to scream. Just a vast, cold emptiness. The numbness lasted through the weekend. Melissa returned Sunday night from her fake conference, kissing my cheek and complaining about how exhausting the presentations had been. I smiled, asked if she wanted tea, acted like nothing had changed. Inside, my mind was already working through what came next. I could confront her. I could print the emails, throw them on the table, demand answers. I could call Brad, tell him exactly what I thought of men who pursued married women. I could break down, beg Melissa to explain why I was not enough, ask what I did wrong. But every scenario I imagined ended the same way. With me looking weak, desperate, pathetic. With her making excuses, crying fake tears, promising to change, while secretly resenting that she got caught. With Brad becoming the villain in a drama that would consume months of my life. I realized something sitting in our living room that Sunday night while Melissa showered. She had already made her choice. She was not in love with me anymore. She was staying out of convenience or guilt, or because leaving required a difficult conversation she did not want to have. If I confronted her, I would be forcing her hand, making myself the obstacle she had to manage. She would either lie better or finally leave. But either way, I would spend weeks or months trapped in the aftermath, dissecting what went wrong, listening to apologies I did not believe. I decided on a different path. I would leave first. Completely. Without warning, without drama, without giving her the chance to control the narrative or manipulate my emotions. I would disappear so thoroughly that she would wake up one morning and find me simply gone. No confrontation, no arguments, no closure. Just absence. The decision brought a strange calm. I spent Monday researching how to execute this plan. I opened a new bank account at a different institution, transferring exactly half of our joint savings, the amount I had contributed over the years. I contacted a divorce lawyer, explained my situation, and began preparing paperwork. I looked for apartments in a city 3 hours away, where my company had a regional office. I called my manager, explained I needed to relocate for personal reasons, and asked about transferring. He agreed without asking questions. For 2 weeks, I lived a double life. During the day, I worked, normally attended meetings, wrote code. In the evenings, while Melissa was out late with Brad or pretending to work, I packed. Not everything, just the important things. My clothes, my personal documents, photographs of my parents and siblings, books that mattered to me, my grandfather's watch. I left behind anything we had purchased together. The furniture, the kitchen supplies, the television, the car. I did not want objects that carried memories of a marriage built on lies. Melissa noticed nothing. She was too absorbed in her secret life to see mine unraveling. We still ate breakfast together some mornings. She still kissed me goodbye before work. She still asked how my day went, though she barely listened to my answers. I played along perfectly. I smiled when she talked about her fictional, difficult clients. I nodded when she complained about her imaginary workload. Inside, I was counting down days. I scheduled my move for a Friday. Melissa would be at work, or more likely with Brad. I took the day off, told my manager I was handling the relocation logistics. Thursday night, I wrote a letter. Short, direct, without emotion. Melissa, I know about Brad. I know about everything. I am not angry, just disappointed. By the time you read this, I will be gone. The divorce papers will arrive next week. You can keep the house, the car, everything we built together. I only took what is mine. I do not need explanations or apologies. I just need you to know that I deserve better, and I am going to find it. Do not try to contact me. Goodbye. Calhoun. Friday morning, I woke before dawn. Melissa was still asleep, her back to me, like it had been for months. I looked at her one last time, feeling nothing. No love, no hate, no regret. Just finality. I placed the letter on the kitchen table where she would see it first thing. I loaded my car with the boxes I had secretly packed. At 6:30 a.m., I walked out of our house, locked the door, slid my key through the mail slot, and drove away. I did not look back. Not at the house, not at the street, not at the neighborhood where we had lived our married life. I drove straight to my new apartment in a city where no one knew my name or my history. I arrived by mid-morning, carried my boxes upstairs, and sat in the empty living room of my new home. Only then did I let myself feel something. Not sadness. Relief. The first 3 months in the new city were harder than I expected. Not because I missed Melissa. I did not. But rebuilding a life from scratch takes effort. I worked long hours at the regional office, proving myself to a new team. My apartment was sparse, just a couch, a bed, a desk. I ate takeout most nights, too tired to cook for one person. Sleep came in fragments. I would wake at 3 a.m., stare at the ceiling and replay moments from my marriage, searching for signs I should have seen earlier. But slowly things improved. After 3 months, I got promoted to senior engineer, leading a small development team. The raise was substantial. I bought real furniture, decorated the apartment in a minimalist style I actually liked. I started going to the gym before work, running on weekends, taking care of my body in ways I had neglected during my marriage. I lost 15 pounds, gained muscle, felt stronger physically and mentally. I made friends with coworkers. A group of younger engineers invited me to join their weekend hiking trips. I said yes, surprising myself. We climbed trails I had never known existed, camped under stars, sat around fires talking about life and work and dreams. They knew I was divorced, but never pushed for details. I appreciated that. I did not date. A few coworkers hinted they knew someone who would be perfect for me, but I declined politely. I was not ready. Maybe I would never be ready. But I was not lonely. For the first time in years, I enjoyed my own company. I read books I had been meaning to finish. I learned to cook properly, experimenting with recipes on quiet Sunday afternoons. I took online courses in machine learning, expanding my skills. I built a life that was entirely mine, untainted by betrayal or lies. The divorce finalized after 6 months. Melissa signed everything through her lawyer without contest. She kept the house, the car, everything I had left behind. I kept my dignity and my freedom. We never spoke directly. Not once. I had blocked her number, her email, her social media. As far as I was concerned, she no longer existed in my world. I thought that chapter was closed forever. Then, on a Saturday evening, nearly a year after I left, my doorbell rang. I was making dinner pasta with vegetables, listening to jazz on my speakers. I almost did not answer. I rarely had visitors, and I was not expecting anyone. But curiosity won. I walked to the door, checked the peephole, and my heart stopped. Melissa stood in the hallway. She looked terrible. Her face was gaunt cheeks, hollow eyes ringed with dark circles. Her hair, always perfectly styled, hung limp and unwashed. She wore jeans and a sweater that looked slept in. She had lost weight, too much weight. She looked fragile, broken, nothing like the confident woman who used to stride into rooms commanding attention. I stood frozen for a long moment, then opened the door slowly. I did not speak. I just looked at her, waiting. "Calhoun," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Can I come in? Please, I need to talk to you." Every instinct told me to close the door, to send her away, to protect the peace I had built. But curiosity, or maybe something else, made me step aside. She walked in hesitantly, looking around the apartment like she was entering a foreign country. I closed the door and leaned against it, arms crossed. "How did you find me?" I asked. My voice was cold, detached, the voice of a stranger. "Your parents," she admitted, not meeting my eyes. "I begged them for months. They finally told me where you work. I drove here today. I made a mental note to have a conversation with my parents about boundaries. They meant well, but this was a violation." "What do you want, Melissa?" I asked directly. I had no patience for small talk, no interest in pretending this was a friendly visit. She burst into tears. Not delicate crying, but ugly heaving sobs that shook her whole body. She sank onto my couch, covering her face with her hands. I did not move, did not offer comfort. I just waited. "I made a terrible mistake," she choked out between sobs. "Brad and it did not work out. He left me after 3 months, said I was too needy, too broken. Everything fell apart, Calhoun. Everything." I listened without expression as she told her story. After I left, she and Brad started dating openly. For a few weeks it was exciting, the thrill of not hiding anymore. But reality set in quickly. Without the secrecy, without the forbidden nature of their affair, the relationship lost its spark. Brad grew distant, criticized her constantly, compared her to his ex-wife. After 3 months, he ended things, saying she was not what he wanted. 2 weeks later, Brad reconciled with his ex-wife. Melissa spiraled. The affair became public knowledge at her office. Her boss called her in for a meeting about professional conduct. Co-workers who had been friends stopped talking to her. She was passed over for a promotion she had been promised. Eventually, the hostile environment became unbearable, and she quit. She found another job, but it paid less, had no growth potential. Her friends distanced themselves, too. Most of our mutual friends had known both of us. When they learned what she did, how she carried on an affair while I was home waiting for her, they sided with me. Or more accurately, they wanted nothing to do with her drama. She lost her social circle, her reputation, her career trajectory. "I lost everything, Calhoun," she said, looking at me with desperate eyes. "My job, my friends, my dignity. And I lost you, the only person who truly loved me. I was so stupid. I threw away something real for something that was never going to last." I let her finish, then spoke quietly. "So you are here because you lost everything, not because you realized you loved me." She looked up sharply. "No, I do love you. I always did. I was just confused, stupid. I made a mistake." "You were not confused, Melissa," I said, my voice steady and calm. "You made a choice, multiple choices actually. You chose to lie to me every single day for months. You chose to sleep with another man while sharing a bed with me. You chose to plan a future with Brad while pretending to plan one with me. Those were not mistakes. Those were decisions." She flinched like I had slapped her. I continued. "You did not come here because you miss me. You came because you are alone and desperate. You want me to rescue you, to fix your broken life, to be your safety net. But I am not that person anymore." "Please, Calhoun," she begged, standing up and taking a step toward me. "We can start over. I will do anything. I will prove I have changed. I will spend every day making it up to you. Just give me another chance." I held up a hand, stopping her. "You want to know why I left without a word? Because you did not deserve my anger. You did not deserve my pain. You did not deserve any part of me anymore." She stared at me, tears streaming down her face. "When I found those emails, I could have screamed. I could have thrown things, made a scene, demanded answers. But that would have given you power over me. It would have made me the victim, begging for explanations, the desperate husband trying to understand why he was not enough. I refused to be that person. Instead, I chose silence. I chose dignity. I walked away and built a life you cannot touch, cannot ruin, cannot even imagine. While you were playing house with Brad, I was getting promoted. While you were burning bridges, I was building new ones. While you were losing everything, I was gaining myself back." Melissa sobbed harder. "I am sorry. I am so sorry." "I know you are," I said, my voice softening slightly but staying firm. "But you are sorry because you lost, not because you hurt me. You are sorry because Brad left, because your friends abandoned you, because your life fell apart. If Brad had stayed, if everything had worked out, you would not be here. You would never have thought twice about me. That is the truth, and we both know it." She did not deny it. She could not. I walked to the door and opened it. "It is time for you to go, Melissa. This is my home, my life. You do not belong here." She stood slowly, wiping her eyes. "What am I supposed to do now?" she asked, her voice small and broken. "Figure it out," I said without sympathy. "The same way I did when you destroyed our marriage. You are a grown woman. You made your choices. Now you live with the consequences." "Will I ever see you again?" she asked as she reached the door. I looked at her one last time. Despite everything, I felt no satisfaction in her pain, no joy in her suffering. I just felt nothing. "No," I answered firmly. "This is goodbye. For real this time." She hesitated in the doorway, as if waiting for me to change my mind. When I said nothing more, she turned and walked down the hall. I watched her until she disappeared around the corner, heard the elevator ding, heard the lobby door close. Then I shut my apartment door, locked it, and returned to my kitchen where my pasta had gone cold. I stood at the counter for a long moment, processing what had just happened. Then I dumped the pasta, started fresh, and finished making dinner. I ate slowly, tasting every bite, grateful for the silence, grateful for the peace. In the days after Melissa's visit, I found myself thinking about her occasionally. Not with longing or regret, but with a strange sense of clarity. Her showing up had proven something important. I had made the right choice by leaving. If I had stayed after discovering the affair, if I had confronted her and tried to work things out, I would have always been her backup plan. The safe option she settled for when the exciting option did not pan out. I would have spent years wondering if she truly wanted me, or if she was just afraid to be alone. Every time she worked late, every time she checked her phone, I would have questioned her. Trust once shattered that completely cannot be rebuilt. Not really. By leaving silently, by refusing to participate in the drama, I had taken control of my own story. I did not give her the chance to manipulate my emotions, to feed me lies, to make promises she had no intention of keeping. I simply removed myself from the equation. And in doing so, I forced her to face the natural consequences of her actions without me there to cushion the fall. Brad left her because she was not who he thought she was. The affair had been exciting precisely because it was forbidden, secretive wrong. Once it became ordinary, once she was just another girlfriend making demands and expecting commitment, he lost interest. Her friends abandoned her, not because I asked them to, but because they lost respect for someone who could betray a partner so thoroughly. Her career suffered because word got around about her lack of integrity. None of that was my doing. It was simply cause and effect. Meanwhile, I thrived. I earned a promotion to lead engineer within a year. I built genuine friendships with people who knew nothing about my past pain. I rediscovered hobbies and interests I had neglected. I became healthier, both physically and mentally. I learned that being alone was not the same as being lonely. In fact, I found more peace in my own company than I ever had in a marriage built on one person's lies. 2 months after Melissa's visit, something unexpected happened. I met Amanda. She was an architect who worked with my company on a building renovation project. We met during a planning meeting where I was presenting the tech infrastructure requirements, and she was explaining the structural limitations. We disagreed on several points, but the debate was respectful, intelligent, even fun. Afterward, she approached me with a smile. "You made some good points in there," she said, "even if I still think you are wrong about the server room placement." I laughed, surprising myself. "Want to grab coffee and continue arguing about it?" We did. That coffee turned into lunch the next week. Then dinner. Then weekend hikes where we talked about everything except work. Amanda was different from anyone I had dated before. She was independent, successful, complete on her own. She did not need me to validate her or fix her problems. She had her own life, her own goals, her own circle of friends. We complemented each other without consuming each other. I told her about my divorce early on, keeping it simple. My ex-wife had an affair. I found out and left. It has been over a year. Amanda nodded, asked if I had healed from it, and when I said yes, she believed me. We never spoke of it again unless I brought it up. There was no jealousy, no insecurity, no drama. Just two people building something new together, slowly and carefully. 6 months into our relationship, I realized something. I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way I had not been even in the good years with Melissa. Because this happiness was built on honesty, mutual respect, and genuine compatibility. Not on obligation or history, or the sunk cost fallacy of years invested. I learned something important through all of this. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Not every battle needs to be fought. Not every betrayal demands confrontation. Sometimes silence is more powerful than any argument. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all, but simply living well. I did not need Melissa to apologize, though she had. I did not need her to suffer, though she did. I did not need closure from her because I had already given it to myself the day I walked out that door. True closure does not come from the person who hurt you admitting what they did wrong. It comes from accepting what happened, learning from it, and choosing to move forward regardless of whether they ever acknowledge their role in your pain. Melissa taught me what I did not want in a partner. Amanda showed me what I did. Melissa demonstrated how fragile trust can be. Amanda proved that it can be rebuilt with the right person. Melissa's betrayal could have broken me, made me cynical, and closed off. Instead, it freed me to find something better. I still wonder sometimes how Melissa is doing. If she found a new job, new friends, maybe even someone new to date. But those thoughts are fleeting, more curiosity than concern. Her life is no longer connected to mine. We are two people who once shared a home and a last name, now living completely separate existences. And I am okay with that. More than okay. If there is one thing I want anyone going through betrayal to understand, it is this. You do not always need the other person to make things right. You do not need their apology to move on. You do not need them to understand the depth of their betrayal or feel appropriate remorse. Sometimes they never will. And that is okay, because your healing is not dependent on their acknowledgement. Walking away with your dignity intact is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is not running from the problem. It is recognizing that some problems are not yours to solve. Some people are not yours to fix. Some relationships are not worth saving. And having the wisdom to know the difference, the courage to act on it, and the strength to build something better afterward, that is real power. I think about the man I was a year ago, sitting at that laptop, reading emails that destroyed my marriage. I remember the emptiness I felt, the sense that my entire life had been a lie. If I could go back and tell that version of myself anything, it would be this. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You are going to discover strength you did not know you had. You are going to build a life more authentic and fulfilling than anything you thought you lost. And one day, you will look back on this moment not with pain, but with gratitude that it set you free. Melissa tracked me down a year later, desperate and broken, hoping I would save her. But I had already saved myself. And that ultimately was the only rescue mission that ever mattered. So what would you have done in my situation? Would you have confronted your partner or chosen silence like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences about finding strength in difficult times. Share this with someone who needs to hear that walking away can be the bravest choice. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminded you that you deserve relationships built on honesty and respect. Stay strong. And remember that sometimes the best chapter of your life begins when you finally close the one that was hurting you.